Welcome to the Star Trek Fan Films panel at DragonCon. So without further ado, we're going to introduce ourselves. I am Nayr. I'm the co-host of the StarPodTrek podcast. We celebrate Gene Roddenberry's vision of the future.
Hi, I'm Kavura, and I'm Nayr's wife, and I'm also on StarPodTrek. And I also co-host Ladies Trek Library, another podcast that just talks about Star Trek books. And I was in some fan films, A Gathering Storm and The Crown Jewels of Xantharus for Potempkin Films. And I was in The Romulan War, which we did together.
Hi, I'm Joe Cepeda from Star Trek Nature's Hunger. I'm the producer. We produced films for about 10 years now. We have 40 films out on YouTube if you haven't seen any of them yet. And Razor's Edge is our latest film.
I'm Lezlie Sawyer, and I was honored to be in Jose's latest film, Nature's Hunger, and going to be reprising my role of Pepperstone in future episodes.
Yes.
I also have done fan films with Randy Landers, and we were in one of his films, The Crown Jewels film, together as Orions, and I've done a lot of films for Vance Major Owens, who does the Constar Chronicles. Just have done, one of the things I really enjoyed doing a lot was for Ray Tessie. There's a really, really great studios that looks just like the bridge of the Enterprise, and I was able to be a captain, and that was an incredible experience to be sitting in the captain's chair at Neutral Zone Studios. So that was a great fan film to work on. The Looking Glass was the name of that particular film. So yeah, I've done a bunch of them.
So fan films have recently got a lot of notoriety, but they go back all the way to the 60s, just shortly after Star Trek, or during the time that Star Trek was on the air. Fans were making them with 8mm, 16mm camcorders, or of whatever the technology of that time was. One of the most notorious ones is on YouTube and from the 70s. So some things have been archived from decades ago. But I'd say probably the last 10, 15 years, that's when it's really been booming, when YouTube became a normalcy within everyone's lives, as well as crowdfunding. But we'll talk about some of the unique aspects of fan films, and all of us have different areas of expertise or participation in such. So we're going to analyze that from different angles. One of the productions that my wife and I, as well as Lezlie, have been involved in is Potempkin Pictures. So we're going to be naming some productions that we've been involved in. You might want to take some notes, check them out. Most of the time you're going to find them for free on YouTube or else some other source directly at the website on the internet. Potempkin Pictures was based out of Alabama originally. Now they're in Kentucky. But they have a variety of fan films that some are very short vignettes, 5 minutes long. They could run 15, 20 minutes long. Baby, what was your experience working firsthand with Randy Landers in Potempkin Pictures?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, I have to say. And Randy Landers is a great guy, and he pumps out these fan films, like just about one every month. And they're short, like you said, like 5 or maybe 15 minutes long. But we enjoy doing them. And the first one that we did together was A Gathering Storm, where we played a made-up race. I think they were called Algonquins or something, but they were supposed to be like elves. And we got to fight Klingons. And what I loved about it was because Randy said, like, okay, who wants to kill a Klingon? Like, everybody that was an elf got to be in a pretend fight, holding a sword and battling a Klingon. It was just a lot of fun. And I love how the way he treats his cast, like, everybody's important, everybody gets something to do, even though, like, I was a background character. But it was still a lot of fun.
Lezlie, you worked on some Potempkin Pictures, correct?
Yes.
What was your experience?
Well, actually, Randy, it's interesting how I got involved with Randy. I met Larry Fleming, who is really way big in the whole Farragut and all that. I mean, he's done so many Star Trek fan films and directed them and written them.
He's like the Eddie Pesky of fan films. Like, you watch a fan film and you're going to find him somewhere in one.
You'll find Larry somewhere. But I met him when we were working on Jumanji. We do a lot of background work on TVs and film. And I just so happened to meet him when we were working on Jumanji, and he brought up the fact that he works on Star Trek fan films, and I got so excited. I'm like, I tried. I knew that there were Star Trek fan films. I tried. I contacted people, never got any response. And I was like, I would love to do that. That would be so cool. So what happened was Larry told Randy about me, because at the last second, and unfortunately this happens a lot, where you'll have somebody in your film, you're counting on them to be there, and they don't call, they don't show up. I mean, you're like, okay. Exactly. He had it with this one actress who kept doing that to him. And he had already filmed about 60% of the movie. And she was real, like, well, you know, you've already filmed most of your movie. You're not gonna fire me. It's like, I'll come when I can come. And he's like, guess what? You're fired. And he had to go back and reshoot 60% of that movie over again. And he did contact me. He said, look, this is what's happened. I'm really in a bind. Is there any way you can come next weekend to film? Because I really want to try to get all these shots that she was in done again. And he told me what the character was. He sent me the script. And it just so happened I actually could do it on a moment's notice like that for him. And we were able to get the film done. But yeah, he's great to work with, and it is amazing. He turned his downstairs basement, this is what Jose did also, into all the various sets of where you feel like you're on the Enterprise. And you'd never know that you were in somebody's basement. The amount of work it takes and dedication it takes, it's unbelievable to me. And Randy had to move. He actually had to sell his house. So he actually had to destroy all those sets that he had built and rebuild them again when he bought a new home in Kentucky. Yep. That is dedication, I'm telling you, unbelievable. But yeah.
One question that comes up, are you professional actors or professional writers, and do you get paid for productions? Now, no, I'm a regular, ordinary guy. I am not a professional actor. No, we do not get paid. We do this for the love of Trek. Down the line. Kavura?
No, I'm not a professional, and so I just feel privileged to have been in some fan films, because I love Star Trek, and I love doing it. It actually, and I had never done it before, like performing in front of a camera. So I was very, very lucky to get to do that, I think.
Joe?
Which
Are you a professional?
Oh no! Well, no. It's interesting that you say that, professional. I would say more dedicated.
Yes.
And passionately involved.
But I'm saying you're not an ex-movie maker.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Professionally, not getting paid. Yeah, but I used to help make films for a living. Yeah, that's correct.
Leslie?
Yes, I am a professional actress in that. Yes, I have definitely gotten paid. I was core background for the TV show Dynasty for 3 years. I got to be a maid for the Carringtons. But I also have done Walking Dead, and I don't know. I've lost track of all
You had credit
shows.
in some.
Yeah,
right, in the Marvel movie recently?
I got not Star Trek. I got credit for, there was a TV show on Sci-Fi Channel called Superstition, and Mario Van Peebles actually directed the episode I was in where I had to play the mother of the lead actress on that show. I'm a professional actress. But as far as getting paid for doing any kind of this Star Trek work, we don't get paid. In fact, actually, if I were to I'm SAG eligible, which means if I wanted to get into SAG, I could. The unfortunate thing with all the rules that they have in place now with us making these fan films, you really are not allowed to hire anybody that's in the union. So if I were to get into SAG, I really would no longer be able to do this work. And that would break my heart. I love doing it so much. so I'm kind of, dragging my heels on getting involved. Just I think, I don't know what to do.
But that's the passion and dedication that Star Trek fans have that are involved in these films.
We're doing it just for the pure love of Star Trek. And this is our way of showing our love for it. And it's like playing in the sandbox, Yeah.
Now, Joe, you are a jack of all trades when it comes to your production, Nature's Hunger. You not only star in your films, but you also write, produce. Tell us about what you do, your world that you've created, Nature's Hunger.
I think the vision comes, from life experiences. When I write my scripts, a lot of it is stuff I've lived in real life, so it becomes natural. And then meeting people like Lezlie, for example, I just meet her. I can write scripts from that. It's just so much of that. I would say it is like Star Trek is like the tapestry of life experiences, meeting fantastic people, and then being able to work with that, cultivate it, and put it on canvas and write it. I like to be involved in the script writing, the casting. I like to be involved in on making the props and working with people that make the props. And I find it's not that easy. Like, I found out the hard way. I want this prop. You have to show them pictures. And here's what I learned a my lesson on. You actually have to talk measurements, because you think like this, and they're thinking like this. And they say, oh my gosh, why didn't I communicate so that you will get the product that you communicate to, what you want, through pictures, through measurements, and what it looks like. Show pictures of what it's supposed to look like. Like, there's some props that I have to make the prop. This is kind of crazy. You make the prop to show someone the prop you want to make. Does that make sense? Because they're going to mold it, they're going to 3D print it. On some of the props that you see, like in Razor's Edge, it took a while to communicate and to just craft it out, I would say. But yeah, I'll say a little bit of everything. The special effects too, I'm involved in, which is nice. If it's under one roof, then you have more creative control, and then you can adjust it and change it.
So now, Kavura, we were both in a production called The Romulan War, which is an Enterprise-era fan film, and it actually is, if we know about the history of Star Trek Enterprise, yes, it got canceled at the 4th season. The 5th season was supposed to be The Romulan War. So this continues the story. Now, you portrayed an Andorian in this film. You want to talk about your experience in that?
Okay, yeah, we both played Andorians. The film, it was actually made in Nashville. That's where we live, and the guy who runs it is Mark Nicoredo, and he actually is a TV producer, but so he wanted to do this Star Trek fan film on the side, which is actually a series. We were in the first film, and he is planning to make more. But we met Mark through Facebook, and he asked us to play Andorians, because we had already done Andorians. If you've seen our Facebook page, our profile picture is both of us as Andorians with the white hair and the antennae and the blue skin and everything. And
but we're members of the Klingon Assault Group, which has a subset. It's a fan club that in the Imperial Xeno Legion. So we cosplay as aliens a lot in the Star Trek world because of that. So it shows like cosplay leads to other things.
And so we already had our blue makeup, and we had our own antennae and wigs to play Andorians. But Mark actually he ordered us some different antennae because he wanted it to look more like the Enterprise Andorians, because theirs are a little different from the TOS, because we had done TOS Andorians for our cosplay. But so we went to his studio. Well, he actually rented a studio. And it was a neat little place. It was sort of a small building, but it had the place for a set, and it had a dressing room. So we got to go to the dressing room to do our costume and makeup, and we provided our own costumes for this as well. And he had a film person there. And what we did was we stood in front of the camera. We were actually in 2 different scenes in the movie. And we he gave us our lines beforehand. We said our lines, and we actually did it in front of a blue screen for this one. other films we had done, like Nature's Hunger, where it was on a set. But this time we were just on a blue screen, and we had no idea how it was going to turn out. But it was really cool to see the film on YouTube. He had me like in a council chamber with a bunch of other people. I was sitting, it was at a table, and all of these other people were at the table. But when I filmed it, I was by myself, so that was pretty cool. And
did you find it a challenge though, trying to interact with people that weren't there?
Yeah, it was, because all I had to do was say my lines, and it's very hard to know, like, what do you say when there's no one to bounce off of? But they were Mark and the camera person were trying to direct me, and I think they did a good job. I mean, I think I emulate Spock a lot because I grew up loving Spock, and they were saying, "You're not playing a Vulcan here. Put some emotion into it," So that was what we did, and since Mark is making more, he knows we like Romulans too, so he wanted us to film some Romulan voices or something. He wanted us to record some dialogue in the Romulan language, and he said we could, like however we wanted to do it. He gave us some words that we had to translate into Romulan and record the audio in Romulan, and that was fun because I had to look it up. I did some research, and there isn't much audio of the Romulan language on Star Trek. There is a little, but there wasn't really. It's not like the Klingon language that's fully developed, and there's a lot of it out there. So for Romulan, it was a challenge, and this is what we also found out. We were reading our words to send the audio recordings. And it's hard to not sound like Captain Kirk in this. You say a word, jar jaw, and then you pause, and then you read the next word, something do whatever it was, and so it's like it was hard to read it without those pauses. We wanted to sound natural, so you need to just go all the way through and not make it sound like you're uncomfortable saying it. So we worked at that. We had to practice a little bit.
So that was voiceover work we did. So remember, Star Trek fan productions are not limited to just video. There's audio ones as well. Mm-hmm. Lezlie, you were involved in audio production, doing some voiceover work. You want to talk about that?
Yes, thank you. I was approached and asked by Zahir as to doing a audio series, and there's actually 18 episodes. You can get them on YouTube. It's called Chronicle, correct? It's called Chronicle, correct, yes. And I did get to play a Vulcan, and it was very interesting. I definitely enjoyed doing it, and when I listened to the series, I thought he did a great job of adding in all the special effects. But when you had mentioned how, sometimes you actually have to try to, when you're doing a character, and nobody's there, and you're just sort of trying to pretend in your head how you're having a two-way conversation with somebody, but the other person's not even there. It is actually pretty difficult because you've got nobody to play off of. And in the audio series was proved to be very challenging for me because I had actually never done anything like that before. But I was very, very pleased with how the series ended up because I felt he did a great job of editing it. But yeah, it's a mystery, and it just has to do with my grandfather being murdered on Vulcan. And we're all trying to figure out, because that doesn't happen very often on Vulcan, where Vulcans are murdering each other. It's actually pretty much unheard of. So it was just this huge mystery, and that's pretty much what it entails. And there's other things that get involved with it. So I thought it was a very, very good story, and he ended up getting enough hits on it on YouTube to where he has decided he's going to do a follow-up to it. Wow. So we are going to start working on that early next year.
Excellent. Now, talking about production, sometimes they start out as trial. It's going to be a one-shot deal. But then you realize there's enough of a fan base and success to make it a series.
Correct.
Joe, your production is a series. You want to tell us how it started out, the early stages, and how it gained momentum to become so popular?
Yeah, I think we just, 10 years ago, we started just some pilot films and just had fun just doing them. And then we came up with a new story idea. Not that we intended to make any series at all. And still we don't really intend to make any series at all, but it just so happens that way that you have another creative idea, another great idea. It comes into a script, and then all of a sudden it ends up in a film. But I would say coming up with an idea, and then like a story is like clay. You keep playing with it, and then it turns into this and turns into that. And what I do, like with the latest one, last night I was working with our new film that we're going to be working with, A Fighting Chance, and I had to put it on a cork board. And then I realized, wow. I remember when I went to film school, they say you put your ideas on flashcards and then you shuffle them around. And you say, no, should it be this way? No, it should be here and then here. And then you say, oh my gosh, there's gaps. This needs to be filled in. Because I'm really delighted about writing scripts, because you realize first you write it for the storyline, right? And then you turn around and you say, I want to write the story for the substance. And then you come back and you say, I want to write the story to elicit emotion, to elicit human emotion. And some of the scripts we've gone through 10 times, like with Pepperstones, like I sat down. What would Pepperstone say? How would she react? Why is she so hard to get along? It's like, I love this. This is great. The more drama, the more conflict, the more excited I got. Like Gene Roddenberry said, if you don't got no drama, if you got no conflict, you got no story. And I said, wow, Gene, you're right, So it goes through a lot of rewrites. Yeah, then I said, this is a fun production to do, because I like to write, I like to make a film that I want to watch. Mm-hmm. And if I can't watch it a second time, it probably ain't very good, Neither will anybody else, because, if you don't enjoy watching your films, who else would? So that's my philosophy behind it.
Now, you not only write and produce, but you have your own set in your basement.
Yes, we do.
So let me ask you, what came first, the set or the series?
I'll say the series and the green, because we didn't have any sets built. So we used a green screen for a while. And then we, later on we discovered, hey, we need to use blue screen. Mm-hmm. It took me a while to figure out, you see this yellow shirt? It's lousy for green screen. It just fades out. And then we discovered, experiment. It's kind of funny. I went through all the film books. They didn't say, hey, you got it. It's funny. I did so much research. They say, you're wearing a yellow shirt? Use blue screen. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh my gosh. That answers my problem, because I was changing filters. I was doing, adjusting the camera speeds. Mm-hmm. They say, hey, guy, use blue screen. And then I'm beginning, hey, wait. I got green screen. I got blue screen. You can use white screen. No, yes. Yeah, so it all depends. It took me a while to realize the colors of your screen is dependent upon your costume. You're not stuck with green. You're not stuck with blue. You can use white. You can use red. It don't matter. Just get the quality that you need.
Awesome. Now, you do have a mock-up, not only bridge,
but also...
yes.
Thank you. Yeah. We do have...
you give the audience a visual picture of what you have.
There's some sets that are permanent, because we use them over and over. We went through... spent a while, like 6 months, developing... we were in love with Dr. McCoy's science lab. And I don't think I've seen any fan film series, to be honest with you, that had a science lab. So we had to study those pictures left and right, carpentry, build it. It's only because we like to move things around. It's like 2/3 the scale, but it's big enough. So we have a full size. And when you were there the last time, but it's different now. In the future, when you visit it, we loved our science lab so much. We said, let's build a permanent set around it. And we're still working on it. It's not finished. The science, Dr. McCoy's science lab, this coming year we're going to add the computers in. Dr. McCoy had wall computers. We're going to add that in. But we got the science lab. And guess what? It works. The lights flash, the sound, the whole 9 yards. So we're tickled pink. And then you mentioned Randy Landers. We have a mutual relationship with Randy Landers. I've starred in some of his films. We share information. That's the nice thing about fan films is that if you see my likeness, or I have Rob Lopez that's sitting right there. Raise your hand, Rob. We've been in Randy Landers' films. You know, he'll write a script. Say, hey, you guys, can you come on over and we're going to do a film? You know, and sharing and seeing the stuff. You know, I said, you know, Randy, I'd like to duplicate your sliding doors. What's the secret? So he said, he shared. He said, I have to get permission. You know, like it's a guarded secret to share sliding doors. I didn't know. It's like it's top secret to share sliding doors, but he shared it. He got permission. I said, good. So thanks to Randy Landers, I dedicate the doors to Randy Landers because we built, you know, based on his diagrams and stuff. So it's so fun to have sliding doors that before we would have to have two people to move the things, and now one person, and it's probably the actor
it's like
or the actress.
Secret or something.
Yes, but that's good. But we can't say enough good things about Randy because we share like graphics and stuff. He said, "Hey, Joel, you have graphics, computer graphics you can share. I want to put it on my set. Sure, I get it. I'll send it over." But yeah, he's a pleasure to work with, and I'd love to see his new sets. He did move it. He has a full-size bridge, and that's something we don't have. We don't have a full-size bridge, but one of these days we'll get to part. But I know I digress, but we have a permanent corridor that we can move. The corridor can be readjusted. We can change the plant on. So we have a professional prop maker, Jeff McKelvey, and we just tell him what we want, and we can take that corridor. We can make it straight. We can make it curved. We can add doors on, so we can continue to change the corridor because it's just a corridor. We have the corridor. We've got the captain's quarters, like you say, or should I say the crew's quarters. We've got a bedroom with the fabric from the series that I like to think with our sets. We have two turbo lifts. We have the turbo lift that's the hallway that we can put a turbo lift anywhere in my basement if I felt like, because it's movable. So we need a turbo lift over in that corner. We can move the turbo lift over.
10 years ago, did you think that it would snowball into this?
No, I just got passionate about it. It's just mind-blowing. And we have a turbo lift we call it the Diva turbo lift, because that turbo lift is permanent too, okay? And we can light it to whatever we want without green screen. And I think for next year, what we're going to add on is a transporter room on top of the turbo lift. It didn't dawn on me that the turbo lift and the transporter room could be the same room. So it's mind-boggling what you can do with creative imagination.
Well, speaking about permanent sets, Lezlie, you filmed in Kingsland, Georgia, the permanent set that is there, and you actually got to play a captain, sit in the captain's chair. Let's talk about some of those end scenes and what it meant for you to sit in that chair.
Well, that scene, in the movie I made, The Looking Glass, was very, very emotional for me. I've always dreamed of being an actress my whole life, and it's actually only since about 2016 is when I thought I was at a place in my life where I'm like, you know what, if I really want to try to pursue acting, I can. I had talked to some people that are in the business, and what I had said, this is actually what I had said, was I wish I could pursue acting, but I'm too old now. That ship sailed a long time ago. And both of my friends said, are you crazy? It's like you're never too old to try to pursue acting. They need people of all ages and sizes and colors and everything. So if you really want to pursue it, you can go ahead and do it. So I'm like, you're kidding. They're like, no. So I started doing it, and that's how I got involved with doing all the background work, and then Larry, and then Randy, and it all started snowballing. And then when I was working on a film called Ghost Ship at Neutral Zone Studios, that was quite an experience. I know it's Josh. I'm trying to remember his last name. But anyway, Josh directed the film, and Victoria Fox worked on it also. They do a lot of fan films. The Avalon Universe.
Joshua Irwin.
Thank you, Joshua Irwin, yes. Very, very nice man. And I was actually just a background. I was a zombie in that film, but I did do the hair and makeup. But I met Ray Tessie, who's the owner of the set there at Neutral Zone Studios, And I was just saying, yeah, gosh, it's such a fantasy to be able to be a captain. I would give anything to be a captain, but that'll be a fantasy. I highly doubt that'll ever become a reality, right? But he somehow, for some reason, he tucked what I had said in the back of his mind. And lo and behold, what happened was he was working on a fan film that he wanted to create on his own and produce at his studio there. And when all was said and done, he and the other gentleman that they co-wrote it together, something just didn't feel right. The captain was supposed to be a man, and it just didn't feel right. And then all of a sudden, Ray thought of me, and he goes, you know what? I know an actress who has dreamed of being a captain her whole life and would love to be and I have the feeling she'd be great for this part. I really think the captain should be a woman, not a man. And that's how I ended up getting the part. He approached me, and when he called me and asked me if I would do it, I was like blown away and honored that he had faith in me, because you have to remember, he never saw me act in Ghost Ship. I didn't have any lines. So he was totally having faith in me that I'd be able to pull it off. The end of the film is very emotional. This is why they kind of felt it should be a woman and not a man. Because if you think of how the other captains have been, like, Kirk and everything, they don't, they can maybe get upset with maybe some of the decisions they made on certain things and get mad at themselves, but they never would say to themselves, I'm a terrible captain, I probably should get out of doing this. Kirk would never think that. But this particular captain felt so bad about what she had done that she decided that she was going to give up being a captain and get out of Starfleet altogether. So the end of the film is very, very emotional when she decides to do this, and she tells her number one what she's going to do when they get back to port. And so she's very emotional, and her voice is shaking when she's talking about it. And a lot of times actors really will try to pull on something that maybe happened to them in real life. And the way I was able to do it, if you watch the end, part 2 of The Looking Glass, and that end scene where I'm very upset, I'm very emotional, those feelings are actually real. I really was not acting. It was real. Because, and I'll probably get emotional, my dad is the one who gave me a huge love for Star Trek. And I wouldn't be here at all right now if it weren't for him. Because he was the biggest kid I will ever know. And he always said, whatever you do, don't grow old. And I won't. And so anyway, I remember sitting on his lap as a little kid watching Star Trek with him. And I thought to myself, wow, how proud would my dad be right now of his little girl who grew up to be a captain of a starship. So yeah, it just, all those emotions and thoughts came to me when I was saying my lines. So it was real, But yeah.
Yeah, awesome job.
Awesome.
Now we're talking about inclusivity, about how those that are in Star Trek fan productions, this is not Hollywood. These are all fans that have a passion for Trek.
Right.
So you could see this is the true universe, the Star Trek universe, because you see a little bit of everything there. Let's talk about that, Joe. What do you think about Star Trek fan productions with regards to every type of person is being represented?
I think it's a wonderful concept when fans, just the idea of fans being able to make fan films, because first, Star Trek, someone told me once that Star Trek is like an ice cream cone. And whether it's sherbet or chocolate or vanilla, it depends on you and your imagination. Because everybody out there, when I see the audience, I see a lot of different Star Treks. And they're seeing it from a different edge and a different twist, which to me it's like delightful, like the colors of the rainbow, And such Star Trek is such, right, in a way, a personal thing where it is a tapestry, right? It's like a stage. What can I say? It's a wonderful stage to perform and an outlet. a creative outlet. An imaginative and creative outlet, whether you're an actress or you write or you make props or you just want to help out, you get to be part of this wonderful thing called Star Trek,
And it's a family. I honestly feel that. I really get it with the actors when they say they feel like, you're part of the Star Trek family now. Well, that goes for the people that are involved with Star Trek fan films as well.
I think for us, we're a little bit tighter, though.
We are.
Because we're doing the amount of travel time we put into this, taking time off of work.
That's right. You got to take time.
We're spending money to be in it.
Right.
That's the difference. Now, okay, talking about the connections that we make. Kavura, would you like to talk about the crown jewels of Xantharus and that production?
Yes, so we did. Well, it was our second, or my second film with Randy Landers. He did, because we did A Gathering Storm first, and when I did A Gathering Storm, I told them that I do have dance experience. I grew up taking dance classes and doing recitals, and even when I grew up, I still took dance classes in Atlanta and I was even in recitals as an adult, and so. Someone on Randy's team said that they were actually going to make a film that has Orion dancers. And I said, I would love to do that. And so they invited me back to be an Orion. And it was the Crown Jewel of Xantharus, which Lezlie was also in. And, she was the star of it. But we filmed our parts on different days.
On different days?
Yeah.
Totally.
Wow.
Yeah, and the way he edited it looked like
you
were like the opening act for me when I came out from behind the curtain. But it was totally two completely different days.
So I was there on the day that the dancers filmed. There were 8 of us, and they had actually choreographed something for us to do. The choreography was more like formations. There were different formations, and we could kind of do our own thing, And it was a very unique experience. For this film, they actually provided our makeup and costume because they didn't expect us to have our own green makeup or anything. And for the costumes, they wanted all of our costumes to be similar. So I had to send in my measurements ahead of time so they could make the costume for me. And Randy had found a way to do the green makeup. He spray painted us. And
whole body.
Yeah. That's right. And 2 coats, and the paint was it was cold. So imagine like getting cold water sprayed on you almost. And it was in Randy's garage where we did this, and he had to do us one at a time. Wow. So it took a while, but we were still able to do. I know, but we were able to do everything in one day, so it was cool. And when Lezlie told me that she was going to do it, I warned her okay, when he spray paints you, it's cold, so just be aware of that. And since it was in his home, well, the part where we did our dance was actually outside of Randy's house, and he said, his neighbors, they're used to him filming. And so while we were outside doing our dance, one of his neighbors came over and just stood there and watched us, But it was a lot of fun though, and we and the music, we did have music, but he told us that they would actually have different music for the film because they were doing something that hadn't actually been recorded yet, but some original piece of music that they're going to put in. And I was happy with the way it turned out. I got a close up. Everybody got a close up, and also doing our group dance together. And I love dancing, and I was so happy that I got to be a dancer on film. That was just amazing for me. It was a dream come true. So I was just really happy with it. And it's out there on YouTube, so everybody can find it.
That's good.
And that's the thing, is that nearly every film is very accessible. So once you go down the rabbit hole of finding out about Star Trek fan films on YouTube, you could spend days, if not weeks, watching them.
You found out that it's become more difficult now with a lot of the big studios saying, no, you're not doing this, and off of our back. That's why you don't see more Star Wars fan productions.
Right.
Good point.
Right. If you go that route, I have something for you. Okay, I'll paraphrase.
Sure. So here's the question: is there difficulty dealing with the Star Trek IP with regards to fan films? And Leslie, you touched on it, that there are official guidelines. You want to give us an idea about what those guidelines are that we work within?
To be honest with you, I don't know all of them. I know some of them.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there is no way you can have a film that is longer than 30 minutes, and if it's 30 minutes long, you actually have to break it up into 2 parts. Say it's part 1 and then part 2. And even with that, your part 1 can't be more than 15 minutes. I mean, it's just so ridiculous, all these little rules they've got. But we're lucky that they came up with these guidelines that all the filmmakers have to adhere to, because for a while, Star Trek fan films got totally shut down altogether. And I think it was like a couple of years or so.
Like a witch hunt. That's right.
It was. And they were like, okay, we've had it. You guys can't do this anymore. You're done.
They're immensely popular.
Yeah.
They are super popular. Really it's almost a cult following of some people who watch them and follow them.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, absolutely. And so all the people that love watching these fan films, and of course all the people that love being in them and making them, were heartbroken and really, really upset. So luckily, somehow, some way, they were able to be talked into letting us go back to doing what we're doing, but with all these various different rules. Like I said, if I get into SAG, if I'm in the union, I can no longer be involved in this at all. Even with doing voiceover work, we had a gentleman that was in SAG, a professional actor, who Zahir wanted to hire to do one of the characters, and he could not get permission to let the guy do it. And he wanted to be a part of it so bad, and he was willing to do it for nothing. But they just, no, when they caught wind of that, they said, no, you can't do it. So everybody has to be just purely, it's all
not a professional actor.
Not a professional. It's all.
You could have professional background. You could have professional training, but again, some people have said. I'll give you one of the detractors said, "How can you make a good Star Trek fan production that's 15 minutes long?" And then guess what? CBS created these short treks.
Yeah.
And the same people that said you can't have good Star Trek and being 15 minutes long. Well, what are they watching now? Some of the short treks, I think, are 8 minutes long, 10 minutes long. So the answer is yes, you can make a good story in a short period of time.
Yep.
You want to talk about, especially you, Joe, what's the writing process for your productions?
I think taking one idea and then trying to start from always start at the end and then work my way to the beginning, and then figuring out what are the gaps to get to it and what are the challenges, what are the obstacles. There is a book, Why Your Script Sucks, and it explains the dynamics of script writing. I like that book. When I went to film school, I read it and say, this makes sense. He said, do you know why your script sucks? It's because it lacks the substance and the chemistry and, the logictivity of the story. Like, I remember Rob Lopez, he gave me a very nice compliment. He says, your story is very coherent. And I said, why? And I said, because I put it on a game board. And then I actually, with those flashcards, how do you get from point A to point Z? And then that's where you start playing. Does it make sense? And then you think of the characters and the conflict, and they say, "Wow, could there be more conflict? Why should you care about these characters that you see on the screen unless they have flaws, character flaws? Oh my God!" You start to identify with these guys, and I said, "Man, if you can watch a film and it brings tears down, the writer did a real good job." And if they can write that script with such passion that you shed a tear, oh my God, he's got it. It's meat on the table. He did his work.
So do you think that the fan films being 15 minutes or less was a hindrance to you at all?
No, I think, because I have kind of like the rules memorized. But here's, I thought about the rules, where CBS is coming from. And I said, wait a minute. Don't tick off CBS. There's like one rule. Don't get CBS's attention. If you remember that rule, I think you'll do well in your fan films. And just learning how to work within those parameters. So it's not so much the land or not hiring professional people and stuff like that, and trying to figure out how to work with it. I think you'll be fine with it, whatever the length is, and even if it's like a minute long, Like I'm thinking of a 2-minute film that has a lot of stuff in it, but it all depends. But like I said, as long as you don't draw the angry attention of CBS, I remember being in the military, they had the air defense artillery. If it flies, it dies, So I said, get below the radar screen, man.
And I know that there's something to do with fundraising also. I think
Yes.
that there's restrictions now on
Yes,
that.
that is
Do
correct.
you know what that amount is? Like you can't
I remember it's
ask
like not
for
more than 50,000 or something like
something
that.
like
And
that.
I know for some filmmakers, they
Well, let's talk about that. That's another question that comes up is how can you make a fan film on such a low budget? And my answer is like, okay, do you enjoy classic Doctor Who? And many say, oh, I love classic Doctor Who. I'll say, do you realize the budget for classic Doctor Who was so ridiculous sometimes? They would take bubble wrap and paint it green, and that would be an alien. So can you tell a good story on a very low budget?
Well, that's another thing about the fan films, or about today's world where you can do the crowdfunding, and so ordinary people can get the money, and actually a lot of the fans are so excited to do this that they contribute to the Kickstarters.
Yes, that's right.
And we mentioned Mark Nicoredo, who did the Romulan War. He did an Indiegogo, and he raised more money than his original goal, so he was able to do even more with his film than his original vision. So that's just wonderful, and so and we really appreciate that. But even the lower budget films are still able to do something that's great, and we still love to watch them.
Leslie?
Well, Vance Major Owens, I'm not sure how many of you out there are familiar with his work, but he's been doing this for many years also. And he always started off with just using his cell phone and just filming a lot of outdoor stuff because he didn't have any sets or anything. And but he just recently appeared and was asked to be on a panel at the big Star Trek convention in Las Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talking about fan films. So he's come a long way. And all the work I do for him is just at my house using a green screen that I have. And he does a great job of editing me in and putting stuff in behind me, But yeah, it's really something how some of these filmmakers started off doing very, very, just like I said, just using your cell phone with nothing. And then you slowly build on that. How did you start off when you started with this?
Yeah, it's... first, I want to talk about Vance, because every time I see Vance, I smile, because what Vance has taught me is use whatever you have at your disposal. I mean, the guy can walk in this room right now with his cell phone, and he'll take you in the corner with your costume, and he'll shoot you right in the eyes, and the next thing you know, it's in his film. I said, what is over like 100 films?
Oh my gosh!
The guy is like, and yes, he appeared in Razor's Edge, and he'll be appearing in my future films, and I appear in his films when he needs me. It's just amazing, but he just he takes anything that's common, and how can you capitalize it and get it in your fan film? It is totally mind blowing. Take you in the corner of that room, film you, and the next thing you know, you're on the bridge of the Enterprise. With that thing. And you're right. That's what I'm amazed at. It's mind blowing. He takes his cell phone and he works with it, and wow,
Well, that's another thing about today. There's more technology accessible to what you would say ordinary people, just the fans. We can do a lot more now than we could back in the 70s when fan films started.
And I've heard some people say, well, fan productions are not real productions, so it's not worth my time. So I just want everyone to think about this for a moment. Trouble with Tribbles was written by David Gerrold. Do you know what professional work David Gerrold did before he wrote Trouble with Tribbles? Trouble with Tribbles was his first professional work. Yes, he was a fan that wrote in. A teenager wrote that episode. Second season, I think second or third season going on of Next Generation, they started accepting fan submissions.
Yeah, because of the writer's strike.
There was a writer's strike and said, hey, fans, can you write in and we'll make a Star Trek episode. Some of the most memorable episodes in Next Generation were written by fan submissions. So if someone is of the mindset that fans can't make quality work, look at what you love in Trek and realize Trek at the core is built on the backs of fans.
Hey, we need to get a green screen in our home. I didn't know Lezlie had one.
Yeah, I've got one. I've got a green screen, so if you need anything.
So let's finish off by going down the line. How have fan films changed your life for the better?
It just opened up a whole other world for me in terms of the wonderful people I've met and I've been able to work with. And also I feel like it's actually stretched me as an actress. I have been able to work on these things and really start to, they say that the best way you can train is like by doing. You just do it. It's better than going to an acting school. You're sitting in a classroom listening to somebody talk, or even if they have you come up and do a little something or whatever. You want to get involved. You want to be doing it. And the more you do it, and the more you're practicing doing it, the better you're going to become. So I feel that these fan films definitely has helped me evolve as an actress in a very short period of time. Like I said, I just started doing this back in 2016, so it hasn't been a long time for me. And I just am so appreciative of it, and I enjoy doing it so much. And like I said, all the different aspects of acting that you can think about, where you are an alien, where when I was the Vulcan, you can't be having a lot of emotion, but I'm doing scenes that require you to be very emotional. But I had to really try to tone it down, but you have to somehow bring the emotion out. So being a Vulcan, I think, is actually very challenging, very challenging. So, and then, of course, the whole green screen thing. I did some green screen work on Jose's film, where he totally explained to me, you're talking to this girl, she's sitting down, you're standing up, she's sitting down, you have to look down at her when you say your lines, but there's nobody there. So I'm like interacting with this person and looking down, and I'm just looking at a floor, at the green floor, and then, of course, working on Chronicle, which is just audio only. I'm sitting in a basement. I had to be somewhere that was really quiet because my mic picked up other sounds from other rooms very easily. Right, So I had to be in my own little space down in a basement. So I'm doing all this Vulcan work, being a Vulcan, and sitting in somebody's basement, right? So it's very, very challenging. And so that's why I feel like being involved with this has definitely helped me as an actress and also as a person in general, in that just honestly enjoying the camaraderie, having tremendous respect for people like Jose that put in so much time, effort, and money into doing these productions. His home, he has completely turned into a whole studio. You should give tours. You really should. It is beyond impressive. It's amazing what this man has done. I was blown away when I saw your home. Oh my God! He even has a very nice area for the actors.
The actors
for
lounge.
Us to sit, like a green room or whatever. I think that's what they call
the ready room.
The ready room. That's what he calls the ready room, where we sit, we go over our scripts, and we do the script reading. And he's got nice little snacks out for us and everything. He goes all out, and it's amazing. Yeah. So that's pretty much how I feel about it. I'm very, very happy to be involved in it, and like I said, it's a win-win because I enjoy doing it, but it's also helping me hone my skills as an actor. So,
I'll say Star Trek fan films have been rather therapeutic. I used to be a high-ranking military officer, retired, of course, but at my exit physical, when they did my blood pressure and everything, and all, I say, "Sir, this is not right." I said, "What's that?" I said, your blood pressure is so low and everything, because the jobs I had to were high stress, a lot of crisis management and all that. And how do you go insane or you find a creative outlet? And through Star Trek fan films, I was able to escape a crazy world, and being able to take that my mind and say, hey, I want to make this crazy fan film and stuff like that. Even though around the world it's like crashing around you, people pointing their finger, suspense is coming off the line, your world being chaotic, to put that aside, therapeutic is, hey, I want to work this on this fan film and say, how do I make the nuts and bolts come together? And I'll say, yeah, that would be life-changing. And being the creative thing, it helps you to escape the world of a sad world of reality.
Yeah, and it gives you more Star Trek besides what's on TV.
Yeah.
But since you were asking how it changed our lives, I mean, that's an interesting question for me. That Nayr, we already knew each other before we did A Gathering Storm, but he sent me a Facebook message and asked if I wanted to be in this fan film with him. And I said, yeah, sure. And basically that was our first date, being in a fan film together. And then we got married the following year.
And it was a Star Trek wedding.
It was.
We were there for the Star Trek wedding. Beautiful.
I was lucky to be there.
Yeah.
J.G. Hertzler was there.
Yes.
It was,
yes.
And Gary Graham. It was really
That's-
wonderful.
yeah.
Very
And you wore your
nice.
Starfleet dress uniform.
Yes.
Whoa.
I loved all
We
the
went all out.
Yeah. Dress uniform.
Yes.
Yeah, for me, I'm making lifelong friends through fan films.
Absolutely.
So it touched all our lives. We encourage everyone to check out fan film productions that you see on YouTube. Thank you again for joining us. Live long and prosper.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and join our Facebook group. Live long, and may the Force be with you. Nanu Nanu.